you still struggling to speak English fluently? Feeling stuck, like you're making progress but then just plateau? You're not alone. Millions feel the same way. But what if I told you that this year could be your year? The year you finally break through and become a confident, fluent English speaker? Hey everyone, welcome back to Level Up English. And I'm Grace. If you're serious about improving your English and becoming fluent, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more practical English learning tips and strategies. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Samantha, an English language expert who has helped thousands of learners achieve fluency. And guess what? She's going to share a structured roadmap to help you speak English fluently in just 90 days. So, if you've ever felt stuck, unsure where to start, or frustrated with slow progress, don't worry. Samantha is here to break it all down step by step. Get ready to take notes because this is going to be a game changer.
Thank you, Grace. I'm so excited to be here and help everyone who wants to speak English confidently. Learning a language doesn't have to be overwhelming. If you follow the right method, practice consistently, and stay committed, 90 days is enough to see a huge transformation in your English speaking skills. Now let's get started with step 1. I know there are so many of you who have been trying to learn English for quite some time now. You improve a little bit, but then you kind of plateau and you end up back at the beginner level again. Instead, I'm going to share a proper structure that you can follow to become extremely fluent in English this year. You can even think of it as a challenge, like a 60-day or 90-day challenge. It really depends on you, your time commitment, and what you can manage. I'm not going to give you a fixed time schedule because everyone has a different schedule. It really comes down to you, how much you want to learn, and how passionate you are about it. I'm just going to provide a structure of what you should be doing from morning to evening, how to go from a basic level to an advanced level. I'm going to give you the exact roadmap that I followed myself, and that helped me become fluent English and other languages too. So let's get started, everyone. If you are at a complete beginner level right now, how do you even begin? The most important thing to start with when learning a language is vocabulary. If you don't have the words, how are you going to form sentences? And if you don't have sentences, then how are you going to form paragraphs and have conversations? Being fluent in a language basically means you can have a conversation with someone smoothly. So the starting point is building your vocabulary. A language revolves around 4 things: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. How does a newborn baby learn a language? They learn from their environment. Now, the question is, English isn't really in our environment, so what do we do? Just like you learned your native language, you can learn English too. It's totally possible. Very possible. The very first thing, grammar. You can just forget about grammar. Literally, don't focus too much on grammar. Grammar isn't necessary, not really important to learn any language out there. Grammar is only necessary when you're not learning a language in a natural, structured way, when you have to memorize things. Grammar is about memorizing different rules like was, were, we, them, these, those, in, on, at, prepositions. You only need that when you're just memorizing. And you will also tend to learn grammar when you're just rote memorizing things. If you just learn grammar structures, you'll just end up confusing yourself, constantly thinking, should I use was here or were? Should I use will or shall? You'll just confuse yourself more with grammar, and you'll always be stuck thinking about which structure, which grammar rule to use. For any language, it's essential to bring it into your environment. There are 2 types of environments, external and internal. External environment means your family, neighbors, people around you. Internal environment is what you create yourself, what you're listening to, reading, writing. That's your internal environment. As I mentioned in the video's beginning, there are 4 things in a language: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Now, to bring English into your environment, let's start with listening first. A newborn baby first learns a language by listening. They listen to different people, and the words just sink into their minds. You also need to listen more and more. For listening, you can listen to different podcasts, watch movies, series, interviews, dialogues. Basically, whatever you're currently doing in your native language, just switch the medium to English. If you're watching the news, instead of watching a news channel in your language, watch an English news channel like BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera. You can even watch Indian English news channels. If you're watching a movie, instead of dubbing it in your language, dub it in English. If you listen to songs for a while, instead of listening to songs in your language, start listening to English songs more. Immerse yourself in the language so much that things start to fit into your mind. And it's not a very long process. Grammar might confuse you and take time, but this isn't a very long process. In just a few weeks, things will start to fit into your mind. Listening is done. Next up, reading. If you're reading your academic books and they're in English, read them in English. Apart from that, make a habit that whenever you have free time, read something in English. You can start with novels. There are many novels you can read. I usually recommend children's novels. For example, Roald's novels like Danny, the Champion of the World, George's Marvelous Medicine. I read many of them. Start with children's novels if you're a complete beginner. If you're at an intermediate level, you can start with intermediate level books. If you're advanced, you can start with advanced novels. But if you're a complete beginner, start with children's novels. You'll find short sentence structures there, and those sentence structures you need to fit into your mind. And you won't have to force yourself to do it because you're already listening to things. If you are listening more and now you're reading too, those 2 things will merge and they'll fit into your mind even better. Listening and reading, check. Now comes speaking. A lot of people think they should first learn vocabulary, then grammar, then memorize phrases, gather all the information and then start speaking. But things don't happen like that. Speaking starts from day one. Speaking always starts from day one. If you've started listening and reading today, start speaking today as well. Now, what to do in speaking? Okay, this is a bit of a process. The issue in speaking is I don't have structures. I don't have many words. Where do I even begin? Speaking has a whole process. Whenever you wake up in the morning, whatever small things are around you, table, bed, couch, sofa, or mirror, these small words, start saying them. Whatever you've heard, just repeat those words. Oh, she said ceiling, so this is my ceiling. Start with small words like that. Then, after getting up, when you're getting ready, say, there's a mirror, I am getting ready. Very basic sentences, very basic words, start from there. Then when you're going to the office, college, school, whatever you're doing, if you're traveling, start speaking related to that situation. I'm traveling, there's a road, I'm traveling in my car, I'm driving my car. Then talk about these things. Then when you reach your office, oh, there's my boss, and I'm doing this work today. I have these many tasks to do. Basically, broken English. Because nobody is listening to you guys. Let's be very honest, we feel like I'm not fluent in English, why even speak? But unless you speak, how will you ever become fluent? And there's an example my father often gives. He says you can take classes. Let me give you an example too. There were students who took British accent classes. British accent classes, the basic English ones too, many students have taken. Now, what 2 students did was they watched 50, 60 videos in just 3 days without any practice. They just watched them. Then they say, we watched all the videos in 3 days, but I still haven't learned English or the accent. Well, if you haven't practiced it, How will you learn it? You've got to know all the things. You know the concept, you know all the structures, different concepts, grammar rules too, but you didn't practice them. Knowing information about things and using that information, there's a huge difference between these two things. Speaking starts from day one. So if you follow these steps consistently, in just 90 days, you'll see a huge improvement in your English fluency. The key is
Wait, Samantha. Before you share the final secret, let's remind our listeners, if you're enjoying this episode and finding these tips helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Level Up English. Your support helps us bring more valuable content to help you improve your English every day.
oh, yes! That's super important. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with anyone who wants to improve their English.
All right, now back to you, Samantha. What's the final key to mastering English fluency in 90 days?
Sentence structures, check. Let's talk about paragraphs. When you are traveling, while traveling, you say small sentences. All right, I'm traveling, I'm on the road. Now you need to bring these things into paragraphs. So, now what will you bring into paragraphs? Today I'm going to be talking about the road. Now, you'll talk to yourself. Whatever you're thinking, you'll say all those things in English as a monologue to yourself. Now, the thing is, we don't have anyone to do dialogues with. We think, we've done all the things, but who do we practice with? Who do we speak with? What can we do? So, for speaking, what do you need to do now? Do you have a camera? Obviously, you have a camera on your phone, a mirror at home, and glass. Stand in front of them, and you have to become two people and you have to talk it out. Hi, everyone. So, this is what I'm going to be talking about. Dialogues done. For dialogues, you need to do one more thing, and that is you have to start thinking in English. Whatever you've listened to, written, read, now you keep revolving all those things in your mind again and again. For example, if I read this word today, then you keep saying something or the other related to that word. You've learned 3 or 4 new sentence structures, bringing those sentence structures into your daily life. Basically, the thing is, without focusing on grammar, your whole roadmap will be you need to immerse yourself in the language. You need to familiarize yourself with the language completely, that whatever you are doing, the medium for it will be English language. So immerse yourself in that language and you are going to become super fluent. You need to follow all these things. From today itself, you need to make time. And it's not really about making time. It doesn't have to be like that. Whatever things you are currently doing, just change the medium of those things to English. So it's not like, oh, we need to specifically take out time. You do not have to do that. Because I've often noticed that when students take out time for something, we start to see that thing as a task. Like, now I have to do this work too. Instead of that, whatever you are doing on a daily basis, in the beginning, you'll have difficulty understanding. You'll have difficulty understanding words, vocabulary, but gradually you'll start figuring things out yourself. I know you guys might think, how slowly? Give it a maximum of 2 weeks. You'll figure everything out yourself. You won't just get one usage of a word. You'll get 10 usages of one word. How we use the same word in different situations, you're going to become familiar with all of that.
Wow, that was incredible. Samantha, thank you so much for sharing such a clear and powerful roadmap to English fluency. I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot today.
It was my pleasure, Grace. I truly believe that anyone can achieve fluency with the right mindset and consistent practice. So, to everyone listening, stay committed, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how real learning happens.
So follow this. And in this year, make this a challenge that you become an extremely, amazing English speaker, a fluent one at that, which you've been thinking about for so long. So do that. And remember to explore resources and find what works best for you. Now that you have the roadmap, ready to take the next step right now, then you absolutely need to check out our latest podcast episode. We dive deep into how to talk about your daily routine in English, giving you practical phrases and examples you can start using today. It's the perfect way to put everything we talked about into immediate action. You can find the podcast linked right up here in the cards and in the description below. And if you found this episode helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Level Up English for more expert tips and practical learning strategies. Also, let us know in the comments, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to speaking English? Love to help. Once again, thank you, Samantha, for being here with us today. And to all our listeners, keep practicing, keep improving, and we'll see you in the next episode.